Right, so thank you for joining me, and yet another person who's let me take over the house with.
It's fine. That's pretty cool.
Sort of, I've said in like every one I've done so far, like hopefully loads of people listen to this, not just strongmen or climbers or wherever. I want it to be like quite a broad thing. So I'd say briefly, but talk as much as you want. Sort of, who are you? What do you do? What's the...
Let's start from the beginning. I've got a pretty big story, so I'm trying not to bore everyone by waffling too much. But I am the protein queen. My name is actually Stephanie. Not a lot of people know that. I get so many emails and inboxes going, I'm so sorry, I don't know your real name. But my name is Stephanie Clarke, if you need to know that. I started this business in 2015. Before that, I was a very, very large lady, you could say. My heaviest weight was 18 stone 4, and I was miserable and absolutely like heartbroken to what I'd done to myself, I suppose. So I started Slimming World, and it escalated from there. I got a bit addicted, got really into the fitness industry, was addicted to cardio, addicted to baking. I was on point with my macros so much where I made my own stuff just to make sure everything was perfect, and that's where all that kind of stuff came from. Let's say 2017, I got approached in the gym I was going to in Ironman. Some guy said, "You're really strong for a girl, you," and I was like, "Thanks." But all I did was deadlift. Like, I didn't know anything much about anything else. I did deadlifting and bodybuilding, so a lot of just accessory work. But my main compounds were deadlift, just because I loved it. I think I deadlift like 3 times a week. And I don't know, there's like 2 stories. I don't know which path to go on like first, or try and combine them both.
We'll explore
it's
stuff.
It's a huge waffle.
We'll waffle and tangent away, but sort of, you are a really good strong woman, and people, I think people who know you as the protein queen think you're just some like woman who's in a cupboard making fudge all the time.
That's all I do in my spare time and everything. If we talk about the strong woman side of things, I have done pretty well. In fact, it's getting to the point though now that because I'm so busy and I'm training, did take a back seat massively last year, like in lockdown, because my business blew up in my face overnight. Literally overnight, my orders tripled and then tripled from that, and it was scary and stressful. And so that's the main reason my training took a back seat last year. I did bang on 18 kilos. So I got lockdown fat, as a lot of people will probably no, I'm quite honest about it on Instagram. It happened. I had too much pizza. I was eating the fudge cups I sell now.
Oh, so the stuff that wasn't quite a portion.
Yeah, so if it got chopped off, because I try and make the trays neat around the edges, so that got sliced off, and then the ones that I just look at and I go, no, I'm not selling that, it's got a crushed corner or whatever. I was eating that, so even though it's healthy, low-calorie stuff, I was overeating it like crazy. So I know what I put weight on. Wasn't training, didn't have the motivation. I was working like 17-hour days. So like, you want to finish your day and then go and train in your back garden, because gyms weren't open. So we bought a load of equipment and spent probably like 800 quid. We must have used it twice.
Wow.
And we've sold it since then. But I didn't have the motivation to do it. So I threw myself into England last year, because that's the fun of it, is competing. But before that, and before my mess up of lockdown life, and then pulling myself back this year, which I'm being coached by 3D Strength, which you are coaching 3D Strength,
yes.
aren't you? He speaks very, very highly about that.
Well, that's nice. It's all lies.
Says you're an asshole, really. But so he's pulled me back to where I was, which is a bit frustrating for me, because if I carried on training last year, I'd be a lot further. And I have done alright in strongwoman. Like, I did bodybuild before it, but I couldn't nail the eating. Bodybuilding wasn't my dream. I have massive respect for bodybuilders and what they do, but I don't have the mental like control my food that much to get myself that lean.
Yeah, it's super gnarly.
Yeah, and I did try a 5-week prep at one point in my life, but I ended up giving up and binge eating, and I just couldn't do it. And 5 weeks in was enough for me of pushing sweet potato around on my plate. Didn't want to do it. But when I first started Strong Woman, like I said, I was in Ironman Preston. That's why I was training. That's why I was living, and that's why I was working. And Gaz Smith actually came over. He trained there, and he was like, "Strong for a girl. You should do Strong Woman. You should try this." I was like, "What's that?" It was like, you know, the stuff that Eddie Hall does at Christmas on the TV. I was like, "Oh, right." So he introduced me all to that, and I remember one time he brought Rebecca Cumsty in the gym.
Yeah.
And I watched her deadlift, and I was in awe. I was like, wow. Like, I used to watch girls on Instagram lifting. My Instagram wasn't a business one. It was just full of me watching these strong women lift, and I followed a lot of bodybuilders and stuff. And I remember watching one time a girl pull 90 kilo, and I was like, I can't wait to get to that number. I cannot bloody wait to get to 90 kilo, and then I'll get my 100 kilo deadlift, and it was dead exciting. This was like 2015, so over the course of 2 years of bodybuilding a little bit and just deadlifting my head off, really, because that's what I love to do. Then I got approached. My first ever comp, guys recommended, because it was the closest one to come up, was the Northern Qualifier for England's Strongest Woman. So I didn't play around in novice straight away. I just went straight at that. I racked up on the day after starving myself on 20 egg whites a day. I even went to a wedding the day before, and I did not have the wedding breakfast. I did not have drinks, and I was sat there at the table with my eggs and my ex-partner at my wedding breakfast as well as his. And I still didn't make weight, so I weighed in on the morning at 84 kilo. I'd never met Aunt Brown or anyone like that, so I didn't know what it was. There was girls on cross trainers and rowing machines sweating to try and make weight, and I was like, I need to eat, I'll just be an open, I don't care, because I didn't know much, I don't care. And then later that day, Donna Moore rocks up, and she was in my category, World's Strongest Woman. I was like, wow. Jesus Christ, what I've got myself into. But I shot myself that day, and I came fourth.
Yeah.
There's a video hanging around Instagram of me vomiting my head off in between each deadlift rep I did, which got me known as the deadlift vomiter. And then I got...
That's before the protein queen.
Yeah. And then what else? So I was dead proud of myself. I did do a few novices, and I did win quite a lot of comps. I ended up being thrown into a novice male comp because I turned up as an open woman, and there was no one for me to compete against. So I did have my fair share of experiences of comp that year, and I just loved them. But I was competing like every 2 weeks. So because I was like carving up and thinking you to eat 5,000 calories before a comp, I put on probably about 10 kilos that year. So by the time I came to do England's Strongest Woman, I was sitting about 90 kilos. But I shot myself again, and I came fourth out of I think there was 13 of us. So there was little me not having a clue what I was doing. My deadlift form was terrible, even though it was quite strong. I got my first ever 180 kilo PB that day, which I think was in 2017 this was. And I came fourth. It was at Bloodstock. It was amazing. And throughout the course of them months of doing Strong Women, I just fell in love with the sport, mainly because of the people. And I was like, this is for me. Fuck bodybuilding. Sorry, I can't do it. My ex was a bodybuilder. He still pursues it. But I just like, nah, this is for me. But I need to rein it in a bit. You can't just eat pizza and get strong, because you'll stay in the opens forever. And because I'm so short, 90 kilo on me is a lot of weight. So I did cut down slowly. The year after, I entered the 82s. I nailed my training. I can say I did everything I possibly could to make myself as strong as I could for that competition. And I was also the first 82 kilo competitor. I didn't do it in competition, but I did it twice in the gym to pull 210 kilos. Ooh. So everyone was like, oh, who's this Steph? She's, I've literally gone from knowing nobody to the year after I won England's, and I was just so super proud of myself. Since then, I did go and get a boob job, so I had 6 months off training. Had to kind of restart, gain my strength back. I was deadlifting about 160 after my 6 months of not training, because I did have complications with the surgery. So I had to rebuild myself again.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go, I got to like summer 2019 and I was peaking again for a 210 deadlift, which I was going for an unsuited record, British record. And then just my luck, I did my back in. So I had another 4 months of training.
Rehabbing.
Yeah, and deadlifting the bar and not being able to walk for the first few weeks and struggling around the house even. It was absolutely horrible. So rehab helped myself back to that. And then I did 2019
because
England's and things like that, and I didn't do that great. I was injured and whatever. And then when 2020 hit, it was like, shit, I think everyone just went into that, can't be arsed. There's no comps, I don't want to train outside, I don't want to do this. But from all that experience, like coming back now, I'm so excited. We've got England in 2 weeks, which is crazy. And I know that I'm not going to walk in and win, but I want to go and do my best and kind of redeem myself for the shit show that was last year, which was my own doing. I should have trained for it. I should have put effort in. I shouldn't have put all the weight that I did on. So kind of this going in is, I'm just dead proud that I've got back to where I was, plus some.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if I hadn't had Dale behind me, and because I'm as stressed as I am with work and working so much, I probably would have just gone, do you know what I'm missing this year? I need to work on business. Business is my priority at the moment, but I didn't have a goal. I needed a goal. I love training because I love training for summer. I love comp days because I'm that prat dancing around with headphones on. I don't look like I'm nervous, even though I am shitting myself. But I love comp days. I don't see it as bad as it is as a serious thing. Sorry, Dad's ringing me. And because I know that I'm never going to get to Worlds. I'm never going to get to that level. I'm not as strong. Like, girls are just pulling 300, freaky strong, absolutely, compared to like 3 years ago in Strong Woman. The weights that people are pulling now is scary. So I'm just a bit like, I'm just carrying on with the qualifiers. I'm carrying on with England's, Britain's if I get through, and just do things like that. And I have spoke to a few of my athletes of taking a backseat on Strong Woman and not aiming for Worlds myself, but helping them get there with the sponsorship from the Protein Queen, which is amazing that I can do that. And I've spoke a lot with Ant as well, as taking a bit more of a backseat in competing in Strong Woman and being more of a sponsor, and help my business helping the girls get to possibly Arnold's next year. That's in discussion.
That's so cool.
So I want to be like, because it's pricey. Let's face it, it's a hell of a lot of cost if you can get there. So if I can
the entry fee for Worlds.
If I can get girls there that are more deserving and work the freaking asses off, because let's face it, I love my training, but there's dedication from some girls that I just don't have.
Yeah.
Like, I put 100% effort in for me, and I don't know, they're just more deserving, and I'd rather back them than just kind of piss about myself and you know what I mean.
You say that, but every time you've like pissed about, you've sort of either won or pulled something mad or.
Yeah, I suppose that is like people laughing like farmers and stuff. I'd only trained it twice ever before, and I've never done a comp where I've not won a farmers event. And I've just, even though I was in Dale's gym 2 months ago and he was like, I'm going to put 2 or 3 sets of just walking for 20 metres in your programme, because I trip over my own feet, I fall over, I drop farmers on my foot, and I'm just clumsy. But I suppose
you're bad at standing up.
Yeah. Winging it has kind of worked for me until now, but I do train him now because he tells me to.
Yeah, I listen to him because he knows his shit. Because I think probably the first time we met, or around the first time, was you blacking out doing log.
Yeah, it was a great. It was a chaos, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember you coming over to me. I still use that tip to this day. So I'm going to say it out loud. If anybody struggles with going dizzy, especially on overhead in training, I do have low blood pressure.
Yeah.
To the fact that I did an 80 kilo axle press 2 weeks ago, and I did my blood pressure within minutes after, and it was like 98 over 50 something, and I sent it by both my coaches. Ellis has changed a lot of things with my food and my salts and things to try and help. But I do have low blood pressure and do know that's one of the reasons I go dizzy. But Dan told me I was aiming for a 70 kilo log PB, and he came over and said, why don't you try this? So he said, grab the log, bend down, and squeeze as tight as you can. Close your eyes, squeeze every muscle in your body to spike my blood pressure. So we're going from here to here instead of down here to here, which was causing me to black out. And I still use that tip to this day, and I can honestly say, apart from competing drunk at Bloodstock, I've not fully blacked out in a press since using that tip. I might go a tiny bit of woozy, light-headed, need to put the log down, take a breath in, but I've not blacked out like I used to.
Yeah, because you were unconscious quick.
Like, she does it, it's fine, she'll be fine in a minute. That's the kind of thing, like, first of all, everyone like, holy shit, and now everyone's just like,
yeah,
she'll be fine. She'll come round in a minute, which is, it can be laughed about. And I know people go at the doctors and see this and do that, and I'm like, well, it's just my body. I've got, it's one of the things I deal with. Like, people got high blood pressure, they deal with that. Yeah. So I've just got low, and I don't know how I've got low blood pressure, like with the size I used to be. Maybe it's because, I don't know. I really don't know.
No, speaking of which, you got, was it 18 stone you got up to?
18 stone 4. I remember getting on the scales that day. I cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't weighed myself in about a month, and I thought I was about 16.9, 17 maybe, what I was hovering at before that. And then I was just like, shit, what have you done to yourself? I actually went to the doctors as well, and they said literally you're a few pints off making yourself diabetic.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I don't want to die, so let's fucking do something about it. It took me like 6 months to pull my finger out and actually start something. But eventually I got on with it, and it took me about a year to lose it. I think I lost about 7 stone in a year.
No way.
Just melted off me. But I was obsessed with cardio. I was doing like 6 hours a day, so I didn't do it in the healthiest way. But it was almost like a punishment. Like, you've eaten, go to the gym. And it got a bit too intense, to the point my family sat me down and was like, you've hit your goal weight now, calm the fuck down, stop this. But kind of tore my old relationship apart as well. We was drifting apart anyway, but I was just, the gym was my social life. I was there for 4 hours in the evening and 1 or 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And I'd do class after class. It weren't just me on a treadmill. I was obsessed with spinning, boxercise, a class called Power, which is what got me into lifting. It was lifting to music.
Okay.
And at the time I was like pressing 20 kilo, thinking I was fucking Eddie Hall. But I went to a leisure centre gym, so I was a bit big for my boots, and I was the strongest girl in there. Not to sound big-headed, but my lifts then was nothing compared to what, like, I struggled to lift 60 kilo deadlift at that time.
That's really weird to hear.
I thought I was Rocky Balboa, thinking, walking around that gym.
Like, as long as I've known you, you've just been a really good deadlifter. So it's sort of nice to hear that you're not some freak who just turned up, pulled 140 their first day in the gym.
As much as I can sit back and laugh and go, I'm not the most dedicated person when it comes to my training, my eating and things like that. I have worked hard to get where I've got. I think the hardest deadlift I've ever done in my life, I remember the feeling of it, is pulling the first ever 110 kilo I did. I thought my head was going to fall off my shoulder, and I remember how heavy it felt, and now I could do probably 20 reps with that weight. So it's crazy to think that I've done that to my body. Like, I've done all this, everything I can do now with my body physically is my doing, and it's kind of like, it's just something to be proud of, isn't it? Like,
it's really cool.
It's amazing what you can make a human body do. And what it's capable of. No,
it's genuinely impressive, because like, you've, even in like the last 6 months, you openly were like, I got too big, I'm going to get smaller. And then just did. Like, there was no, I might do it, I'll do it tomorrow, start on Monday, like, because you just keep starting on Monday, but you just seem to...
Yeah, Monday never comes though, does it?
No.
It's like, the day you're going to do it, something just clicks. And that's when I first lost my weight, something just clicked. I'm like, I can't do this to yourself anymore. And like, especially last year, none of my clothes fit. I got a really bad habit of living in my ex-boyfriend's joggers and baggy t-shirts. I felt unattractive, I didn't feel feminine, never bothered with my hair. I know it doesn't look like I do now, it's like a bird's
But
nest.
this is a decision.
This is how I want it to look. I didn't really wear makeup, just couldn't be bothered. and I just felt miserable, and I'm like, this isn't you. I like being a girl, I like doing my nails, I like getting my eyelashes done, sorting my eyebrows out, fake tanning on occasions, and I just lost.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's superficial, but I didn't feel good about myself, and I weren't putting effort in. I just felt like, ugh. But I know I was working a hell of a lot. So by the time I got home, and I was like, it's time to wash your hair and maybe shave your legs or something, I was just like, I'm arsed. Have a quick shower, get in bed, and go back to work the day after.
Yeah, because you've literally built this fucking empire.
It's
like you're taking over in terms of what you do.
Crazy. Like, I look at that now, and that box, I'm in that little box, I'm dead proud of it. Everything in that box sounds really weird, but has been touched by me with gloves on. But all handmade, hand stickered, hand packaged. There's only 4 of us that do it now, whereas a year ago there was just me, obviously getting very, very stressed and overworked about it. And the fact that before May last year I was doing about 15 orders a week. It took me 6 to 8 hours over the course of 2 days because things had to set overnight.
Yeah.
And then I'd chop it all up in the morning, I'd hand package it myself, hand sticker it, and put it out. But that must have only been about 50 products a week, or 100 between 15 orders. I really wasn't doing that much. Like, I was living off my wage was about £500 to £700 a month, which I was very lucky in a way to be still living with my parents.
Yeah. So you weren't.
Yeah. So I didn't have massive bills going out all the time. Otherwise, I would have been fucked.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a really expensive car to pay for, rent, bills, blah blah. All I had really was my phone bill and my board. And it's a bit like, I look back and I think, I was 28 living at home, 29, but it's one of them things, isn't it? And I'm lucky that I have parents that'll just be like, you know what, you're struggling, come back home.
Yeah, and I think it sort of shows that they must have known it's sort of a temporary thing, because like, I remember like the first time I went to coach at Body Power, someone gave me, like, because I just forgot to eat because I was coaching, and I'm bad at remembering myself if people are competing, and someone gave me like one of your pizzas, and I was like, it's like protein food, it's just going to taste shit. Like, protein snacks generally are like,
they've got that underlying
claggy
solid,
powder.
dry, powdery, crumbly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I lived off pizzas for all of Body Power.
I remember you telling me about that one of the first times I met you, and I was like, oh, I'm glad you like my bacon.
Yeah, now it's like, there's 4 of you doing it. It sounds really weird, but it's such a good sign that you can only sell stuff 1 day a week. It's like, because that's not that long for a business to just go,
sorry, we're open Sundays and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that way, and I know that I keep saying on Instagram, we're expanding, we're going to get this, we're going to do that, but it's hard, as well as, not a lot of people know this, but I've been blacklisted, so everything I do, I'm not entitled to loans, because especially being a sole trader, it goes off mine. So everything I've done has been out of my pocket, so that's why it's been a little bit slower than someone could go get a massive loan and be like, right, this is it, fill the shop, put the tables in, shelves up, new fridges. Well, so we've decided to do it slowly, to expand. Like, when I used to do 15 orders a week, I'd go to the wholesalers and I'd just literally buy 1 jar if I needed 1 jar of something, and maybe a few things of this and a few things. I was just buying what we needed instead of having what I needed, instead of having all this stocking.
wow.
Whereas now we've got hundreds and hundreds of kilos of whey just sat there ready to be used, and it's crazy that I'm looking at it thinking, wow, I'd literally buy like 1 or 2 kilos of the protein,
so like
that
a
I
normal
needed. Yeah, and just to keep myself going weekly when I first started, but now it's getting obviously bigger. We can stock these things, which another reason makes us faster, so we're not running around for ingredients all the time. But it's just madness to think that if I had money back then, it could have been bigger back then, but I didn't. And it was just literally what we've just built over the years and years of just what comes in. And then obviously everything that's coming in now is being invested straight back into it to make us bigger. to get us to that point where we can be wholesale, where you can walk into a shop and buy the products off the shelf. And it's a doable task, but it's taken a lot longer than what people believe it should, which is, and I am only one person. Like, there's 4 of us, including me, baking. For 4 days a week we bake. But behind the scenes, my iPad's right there. I literally sit on that. My routine is emails in the morning, get up at 6:30, do my own stuff, get myself ready, go to work, come home, sort Pandora out, go to the gym, come home, back on the iPad, ordering stock, doing emails, replying to customers, putting funky little posts together for Instagram, sorting my labels out. Just a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's just you who's obviously the people baking. If it weren't for them, you couldn't be the size you are. We
could not produce what is required now. Like, we do about 6,000 products a week between 4 of us. So you can imagine if I had 10 and a bigger space, it'd be ridiculous. But that's another thing as well, because it's hand baked. Like, hand packaged is a nice touch, but eventually it will get to the point, like I've told Instagram, we will be getting packing machines. Getting a packing machine to suit these bars without squashing them has proved very, very difficult. And we did get a packing machine, and it was crushing them like flat. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and they have to be custom built, and they are not cheap. So, but being hand baked, I would rather, instead of machines doing it, I'd rather keep to that. But there's only so much you can do that's hand baked, unless I had thousands of staff, which is a factory-based dream. But then it would have to be looked at into going mass production of a machine doing it. But it's nice to be a hand-baked little, almost family baker. Like, my staff right now is my mother, who's like, just keeps me in check. She's amazing in that kitchen. My best friend Jess, she practically mothers me as well, especially when I'm having meltdowns over stuff. And then I have Suzanne, which is my brother's partner. So we're very close.
So it is like a family business.
These other people that if we have extra busy weeks and when we're testing stuff, or if I'm off making new products and getting them sorted, that I can just call and say, do you want to come into work next week? And they'll be there if I need them. Which I'm quite lucky to have people like that. So we never fall behind. And then also as well, hiring these staff, it's got our working time right down. But the website being open on a Sunday, I don't have the confidence to let it open like it used to. Because if I would feel horrible if I got 3 times as many orders than we're capable of, and I have to set my processing time back, I have to set the shipping time back, and people will be waiting 2-3 weeks for their order again. Because that was the case in January. I just one day sat down, I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I had to shut it. And it was just like, it's going to open on Sunday, won't be for long. I expected, because I took on 18 athletes, it to go like this and then calm down a bit, but it hasn't. It's only growing, so that's why it still opens on a Sunday. This Sunday we are opening earlier. We're open at 12 o'clock, so we're going to see how it goes. We are double stocking the website. We've been playing around with new techniques to get stuff baked a lot quicker, and it's worked. Shipping day is massively, it's literally reduced half our time, because instead of cutting the shipping label out by hand and sellotaping it on, I have a fancy printer, which I've tried 3 of them now, and this one's finally accepting what prints out. The other ones didn't match, and they just wouldn't work. So that is literally just peeling it off and sticking it on, and that's took our shipping day down to half. Really? So we can now do double the orders on a shipping day confidently, knowing we can get that many parcels in that many bags and get them out.
Just from going to a sticker.
Just from a sticker.
That's crazy.
I know. I remember some shipping days, we've been there until like 9 o'clock in the evening, 11 o'clock in the evening. We're done by 3 o'clock now.
That's ace. That's really cool.
Then it's packing the car, doing 2 loads to the drop-off point, and then that's the baking done for the week. Then Friday, Saturday is my admin days. Sundays sorting the website out, and then baking.
Start again.
Yeah. So it's a good routine to be in, as frustrating as it is for some customers that don't get what they want. But we are sorting that, because I've noticed everybody wants Biscoff. So we're doing these kilo Biscoff boxes. We are double in the Biscoff, and then the items that they still, I've noticed a few left in stock, because people aren't just, I think in January, February, people were just ordering whatever they could get their hands on for the sake of going, I've got protein quid order. But now people have tried stuff and go, I like this, they'd rather wait. So we're going to reduce the stock of like the cookies and cream, we're selling like a third of the amount of Biscoff. So we're going to reduce that and then produce more Biscoff, just so people can get the Biscoff, because that's what everybody wants, and the Kinder, and really the white flavours. The birthday cake as well, we're going to bring that as a permanent edition.
Nice.
And we are going to bring another 3 flavours out as permanent, because I get that many emails which takes up a lot of my time. Can you bring this back? Can you bring that? So I'm going to give people what they want, instead of going, oh, limited edition, you have to wait.
Yeah, actually bring it back.
Yeah, so they can just have it whenever they want. But it's just, I don't know, I just feel like I'm
it's
spewing all this information at you.
But it's really interesting, and the thing is, like we were saying before we started, that I'd love to get loads of views and this to be massive, but if it comes across to one person who's in a similar situation or is feeling stressed or feeling whatever, you just venting and saying what life's actually like, totally worth it. It shouldn't be like, I'm not going to sit here with a list of questions and be like, you answered that one, stop talking now, like here's this. I want people to just essentially feel like they're part of a chat.
They can relate to it. If it helps someone, then that's the aim of this, isn't it? It's like the other day I seen another company that does protein handmade treats. Her stuff's amazing. She put on a big post about how she was feeling, and I really related to that, and I was like, I'm just as stressed as you, I'm just as tired, I know what it takes to run this. Like, nobody sees you cry, nobody sees you walk around the kitchen sobbing because you're that tired, but you still got to get the work done. And I was just like, I messaged her, we've never spoke before, and I was just like, I feel the exact same way, keep fucking going, it's worth it. And it pays off, and it is paying off, and I know in 5 years it'll pay off even more, so just keep bloody going. Like, them sleepless nights, them not going out at weekends because you've got admin work to do, them missing social occasions are going to be worth it. If you if that's what you want to do with your life, sometimes you do have to go, do you know what, I need a little bit of time, I need a few days off, but the stress that you put yourself through is going to create an amazing future for yourself. So just keep going. And it was so nice to see. That's how I feel too, like seeing her, and I go, wow, I feel exactly the same, I'm doing the exact same as you. But it's what it takes, it's a small business, and when there's only one person behind it,
you've got to do all the work.
And stress is normal. Like this, I could sit here and paddy about some of the stuff I've got to deal with, and I have, like last year I was a bit worse at managing my stress, and I would be in the kitchen crying my eyes out, and my mum would be like, it's okay sweetheart, we'll get it done, don't worry. But that's just because it was exploding in my face, and I wasn't used to it. But then now I'm just like, well, it's work, it'll be done, it will be fine. It's a little stressful, I might lose 2 hours sleep and not get enough here and there, but you know what I mean, it's
eventually
good, it will be
fine.
And it does pay off, and there's no need to get so worked up about it. You got to sit there and logically think, tomorrow's a new day, and whatever's happening today, it'll be sorted, it'll be fine, this situation won't matter in a year, but the benefits keep growing. So just literally keep going, stressful as it is. Even if, say, like, I've noticed my trainings massively took a backseat, it was necessary. Just so I could build it. If I'd have gone, no, I'm not working, I'm not taking in them orders because I need to train, instead of working on this, especially massively, one of my aims is it's providing a better future for me and my family. Like, I've hired my mum. My mum's worked at my dad's tattoo studio. He's had it for 30 years, and that's all she's ever known. And she just does like part-time reception. So to be able to give her a job and let her come on board and be a massive part of it and have I give her a full-time wage, it's just so like rewarding to I'm better in someone's life. Because I'm putting them in employment. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it's not boring. We have a laugh. It's a very relaxed environment, and it's not even like work actually, to be honest, when I'm there. It's just,
you just turn up with your family and mates.
I'm with my family and my friends, and we're baking. It's not actually, it's really not a bad life, even though my boss never lets me have a day off. But
it's so, like, this past year has been ridiculous to see. Do you remember, like, what caused it to just explode how it did? Do you think there was a thing that set it off?
That right there, protein fudge.
Yeah.
Do you know, the funny thing is as well, in October 2019, I had my cards read off one of my very good friends. I met her through the Protein Queen, which is even weirder, because I used to do my postage when my 15 to 20 orders a week. I used to go, Royal Mail, she used to scan them all through, and in them half an hour it took her to do them product, we'd just have a natter.
Yeah.
And she reads cards, she does boards, she gets people in to talk to loved ones and things like that, which scared me at first, because when I started going in more and more and we got really comfortable and we're chatting, how are you, blah blah, I give her some of my products, I give her some t-shirts, and we just got really friendly. She's like, you should come for a brew, I've got something to tell you. I was like, I don't want to know, whatever's going to happen is what happened, I don't want to be told. But she finally convinced me to have my cards read, and 2 people did them. So someone did them who knew nothing about me, and Tracy did them, who I've been chatting to for months continuously, once a week when I went and did my postage. And the lady, they have like a group and they read cards. Honestly, I think she should charge for it. She just does it because she wants to help people, but she's amazing at it. She makes you feel dead comfortable, and she told me like bang on with my life, even though she knew bits and bobs about me. So I was kind of like, you know, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
You don't actually know that, so it's weird that you've told me that, but blah blah. But then the woman who did my cards, who knew nothing of me, she was just bang on everything, and she did me a yearly one. So she told me what would happen in each month and what I'm going to feel in this month and what I'm going to feel. And she told me about January and February, and I was like, do you know what? She was right. I do feel this way right now in my life. But the main one she told me is May. She went, May's massive. I said, why? And this was last May 2020. She went, next year in May, your business is going to go massive. And I was just like, no, it's not. I sell protein balls. No, you know, so it's a side job kind of view. She's like, no. And then I thought, well, I've got Body Power booked in May, so maybe I'm just going to get more well known and we'll sell more stuff, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Body Power was cancelled due to COVID. So I was like, well, you know, it's not going to get big, whatever. That was my shot to get out there. And then playing around, because I had spare time at home in lockdown, I couldn't even get hold of a bag of oats in first lockdown because everyone's going crazy over toilet paper, oats, tin stuff.
Yeah, couldn't buy flour.
Yeah.
People have never baked in their life.
Couldn't buy flour or anything.
Need 30 kilos of flour.
Yeah, just in case. So I couldn't get ingredients, so I had to shut for 6 weeks. So I played around with new stuff that I could get my hands on, and I created protein fudge, which was actually a cookie dough recipe if I'm wrong.
Really?
And I tried it 3 times, and then I sent it off just to make sure I was 100% correct, because I couldn't believe it myself. And then we tested it, made sure it, you know, stood the test of time, didn't go off in a week, things like that. I was like, I'm going to sell this. And I was like, I'm going to put it on a website. I'm going to make a little, I do all the website stuff myself, creating the products and things. That's why there has been a few spelling mistakes. But yeah, so I created the product, put it on thinking, I'll sell about maybe 20, 30 of them. And literally within about an hour, I'd sold 180 Biscoff and 91 peanut butter cups. I was like, Mum, what am I going to do? So that, I was just like, wow. And then the week after, it was a few hundred of each. And then the week after that, it was again, and just it got busier and busier and busier. So I released 5 new flavours, and it just grew from there. And it was just so freaky. There's a woman who doesn't know me told me my business would blow up in May, and then 2 weeks into May, it just went boom.
And it really did. Like,
my orders literally like quadrupled and then doubled again, and then just grew massively. So obviously I wasn't used to it. I was still doing every single product that I used to do. We used to have 48 products, but now we just have the fudge, the cookies, and the 2 flavours of Crispies, because I wanted to concentrate on the things that people want. So that's why we took away the pizzas and the protein balls now. I remember being stood in my home kitchen going, wow, we've made a lot of food. And I was actually looking back at the videos the other week when they came up on my time hop.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's actually nothing compared to now. Like, that's absolutely nothing. But it was just crazy. Like, I'm actually going for my cards read again next week, because now something's happened to me that you know, it's just for a bit of guidance, not to say, oh, what's happening in the future, just maybe to calm my mind a bit, and a bit of guidance of where this is going, because we do have a lot in the pipelines ready to release, and I might text something from it that just in what direction to go in, because there's a million different directions the protein could go in, but we're set on branching out in 3 different ways, which is one of them I was telling you earlier about, the gym / cafe. And then we do we are well known for our non-taste of protein powder and our flavours. So we are. I have got samples which I'll make you one if you want.
Yeah.
Of our own juice protein and our own whey protein. So they're being tested and trialled. And this is the reason as well when people are asking me for the protein bowl recipe that I'm holding off a little bit, because I want to make it with my product and flavour it in my way, and then people can have the recipe to go off and make it themselves.
Yeah.
But I wanted to combine it with the release of it, just so it's a big thing. It's my own whey protein's coming out.
That's so cool.
The amount we use
That's
in the
ridiculous.
and when I first inquired about it, it was just literally to put in the products, so it brings down the cost of it, so I can bring down the cost for the customers, because obviously now we have to pay VAT and stuff, so I wanted to keep the products the same, but obviously there's money going elsewhere now, so I wanted to invest in my own protein so it brings the cost down, so I don't have to put them up, because now I have to pay all this VAT out.
So you like save the VAT by
so,
making your own protein.
So the customers aren't paying extra for a product, because, and that's another thing as well why I think I'm so popular. You get 10% off with an athlete code, or the code that
podcast
you
10.
can give people. Use podcast 10.
It's the best one.
Yeah, it works out at $1.80 a piece, or £9 a slab, and when you divide that by per bar, it's the only place you can get protein bars at that price really are like home bargains, and
and they taste like powder.
Yeah,
and
they taste like not nice.
But yeah, you think like you go into like a petrol station or like a normal shop, and a brand name protein bar that everyone knows,
$2.99, $3.50. It is, and I get a lot of home bakers as well that are doing them. They are on the top end of £3, £3.50, but mine are a lot simpler than theirs. I don't have all these toppings, and I don't put big chocolate bars on top, because for one, in my opinion, it should be kept low calories. So if you're adding half a chocolate bar to it, you technically might as well go and eat your favourite chocolate bar and have a protein shake. Yeah. Because it probably work out the same calories of other products. But I have had people say my toppings are boring in so many ways.
Really?
But that's what keeps the cost and the calories down.
But also get fucked.
Yeah.
Like
with my product.
They're also really good. Like, this just sounds like we're falling into an advert, but everyone who I give stuff to people on the podcast, they're like, these are fucking amazing.
I love the fact that it's people are in disbelief of how good they are, but it is that's another thing with handmade stuff. We do have a lot more. Well, we can put more effort into making it how we want it, instead of just putting it all in a mass mixer and
you've got the control.
And it's obviously another thing of it expanding as well as the ingredients that we use. It's stocking that amount of ingredients and getting our hands on it, because we do have a lot of stock in that kit. We do have a massive stock room, and it's just stocked to the brim of things that we use. But then mass producing it in the future, we're going to need a room just the size of my shop just for stock. For work, and it's figuring out things like that and what companies we're going to use, because it's just looking for prices as well. I want the same prices if I use a different company, so I don't have to affect the price that I charge a customer for it, things like that. That's another thing with the whey as well. When it was just for the products and we tried it, and it was like, why don't we just fucking put it in tubs and sell this? This is insane. Like, who does a Biscoff protein?
Oh yeah, I didn't even clock that. I was like, oh yeah, like making protein, that's really cool. It'll be like vanilla, banana, strawberry, chocolate.
No. We are going wild with our flavours. Like, I am going to do a chocolate and a vanilla, because we do use them in some. But the way I use it, because I use all different companies for my whey, I do a hell of a lot of mixing. So that takes up a lot of my week before we even start baking. So I'm literally getting the ratios right to get the flavours that I want. But if I can have the flavour just in a bag, and it just goes into the mixture, and then it saves me time as well, and it'll save money. And then if we can package it and sell it and people like it. But it's like, I'll make you one of our samples. We're bringing out a juice protein, because I will admit I'm not a creamy person. Since starting this business, like, give me anything cookie dough 2 years ago, but now, because I'm around it so often, my taste buds have changed to more fresher, like jams, pineapples. I'd rather have stuff like that. So we're bringing out juice proteins. That's all I'm going to say about it. just for the people that don't want the creamy shake after the gym.
Yeah.
Or I've also made a stir fry with one of my proteins because it's a pineapple type flavour. So I put it in with a bit of hot water and a bit of sweet chilli sauce, and it made a really thick, gloopy, like sweet and sour sauce, and put chili flakes and garlic and stuff on it. So it's also going to be a massively aimed at baking proteins as well.
But that's ridiculous. That's so cool. I
know I've come across as a bit as like silly Steph and blah blah, and I'm a bit whatever. But when it comes to the science,
yeah,
I'm very clever with baking.
Yeah, I'm genuinely like a bit blown away with, because I known you years ago, we'd just dick about at a gym. Steph bought some pizza. That's really cool. And then, like, I sort of changed scene a little bit. Moved to Sheffield. Didn't see anyone. Sort of forgot that you were just Steph.
Yeah.
I forgot like the protein queen was.
But it weren't that big. I had like 2,000 followers.
Yeah,
and
most of those were you as an athlete.
Yeah.
And then, like, someone's like, "Oh, have you tried Steph's new stuff?" And I was like, "It's just like pizza." It's like, "Nah, she's doing like cookies and like other stuff." It's like, "Oh shit!" Like, it's not just like she's quite good at making this, so
yeah,
let's sell it. It's like you genuinely know your shit when it comes to making treats.
Sometimes it's a bit of a curse because it's like, for instance, I'm on a meal plan at the moment with my coach Ellis, who does my nutrition, but I know exactly what's in my food that he's given me. He hasn't given me my macros because he wants me to just, that's what you're eating, you don't need to know the macros. I think he'd given me if I asked, but I've never asked. But I can still look at my meal and go, I know exactly what's in that.
Yeah.
And I know how many carbs that is, and I know how much protein this contains. But my brain works like a calculator when it comes to food, which is a bit slightly of an unhealthy sort of obsession.
Yeah.
But
I'm just gonna grab my drink.
It's okay. But it's obviously got me to where I am. Like I look back at like fat pictures of myself and think, God, what? But if I weren't that fat person, I wouldn't be the protein queen right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone, do you know what, I wouldn't have got obsessed with macros, and I wouldn't have made my own stuff at home and then made healthy cakes for the gym and always took them in as a social thing because that's where I started. And then I made protein bowls, and I worked at a healthy takeaway where they started frying everything like 6 months later. And I just took, like, I was eating them on my dinner, and they was like, what are them? And I was like, oh, I'll make them at home, the protein bowls. And they tried them, and they're like, we want to sell them. So that's where I started, and I did it for £8, 5p an hour, and they was like, we'll give you commission, 5p a ball. Never saw my commission after 6 weeks. I was like, can we talk about that commission now? Because I do work really hard on these, and I come in whenever you want, and I'm sometimes working till like 12 o'clock at night because that's when I had use of the kitchen. And I was still getting minimum wage per hours that I've done, and I wouldn't include the time that I'd gone out and bought all the ingredients and things like that. So I was like, and then I figured out obviously how much they cost per ball, and I was like, you guys are making a lot of money, I'm gonna have to cut out the middleman and go and do this myself. So I took them wholesale, and just off I went, and it went from there. And then as soon as I seen how much money they was charging, like £2 a ball, which in my opinion is really unnecessary.
So what were you charging when it was yours?
On the website last year, the protein balls were £2.50 for 3, whereas most gyms.
And they was doing £2 a ball.
Yeah, and some people do charge. Like there's a healthy takeaway again in Manchester, and they do them, and they are £2.50 for one. And I'm like, 10 grams of protein though. I try and go off the basis with my products of £1 per 10 grams of protein. So that's why the cookies are £2.50, the fudge is £2. So just kind of keeping it fair that way. And then the protein balls were on the 10 grams of protein, so you got 30 grams of protein for £2.50 with your 10% off, £2.25. So I was very, very cheap for what they were, but because protein balls didn't get me to where I am now, they didn't explode like the fudge did. That's another reason I'm quite happy to give the recipe. Like I am going to bring out the recipe for people to make at home. Yeah. Because people, it's not only like buying my healthy treats. Some people do enjoy baking. So if I can give them a healthy recipe to bake with, I'm helping someone.
Yeah, and you still sell fudge. It's not like you're just going, here's all the recipes.
They can't have the fudge recipe.
No, I might like try and find it somewhere.
Yeah, I know people have, some of my customers, I've probably had about, when I first started making it, I had a lot more last year. I had at least 12 in 1 month of going. I tried to make it at home myself, but it didn't work. And
Yeah,
like, well,
I know a few people who are like, oh, we're going to try and make protein fudge, and I was like, it's not going to work. Like, it's hard. It's my mum, like my mum's, she knows what she's doing, and she was in R&D like my whole life for supplement companies and making whey powders, and like we spoke a bit about that. And she said, like, I think I gave her some fudge or told her about it, and she's like, nah, that's hard. Like, no, it won't set, or it won't do this. So I'm telling you, like, it's in my car, like, it's hot, it's not melted.
A lot of people who messaged me about it and have said it's gone really crumbly because they've added the whey, but they're just trying to make normal fudge. And what people don't understand about my product, it's called protein fudge, but it's not normal fudge. It's not like I've just added protein to a fudge recipe.
Okay, so you're not making a big batch of fudge, chucking some whey in it.
I obviously can't say what it is because I'm giving away my secrets.
It's not that.
But it's not like I've just made, what is fudge? Fudge is condensed milk and chocolate. So it's not like I've gone, oh, I've made fudge, because plus that, if you made normal fudge, like my sister's made normal fudge, and because I was obsessed with macros, I was like, what are the macros in these? She's like, just don't eat it.
Nah.
Just, you can't, no. Yeah, she said, unless you're having a cheat day, just don't eat it. Because fudge is ridiculous calories.
It's
and that's
so good,
another thing that people were struggling with, that were messaging me. And when I put question and spots on my story, people are like, are you willing to give your recipe out so we can make it at home? I'll just sound business over to you, shall I?
The weird thing is, though, like, the majority of people are pretty lazy.
Yeah.
So you could put the recipe out, and probably 20 people who go, oh, we'll make this, and then they'll make it once and go, shit, this is hard work.
Yeah, it is.
Let's just do that.
It is.
I mean, I wouldn't do that, because
it's convenience food, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I think before I started making my protein balls, in 2015, I started making them because I couldn't afford to go and spend £253 on a protein bar for myself every day. So I just played around with stuff and was like, oh. And then I got more creative, and instead of using oats in a protein ball, I'd blend my favourite cereal, which had higher the sugars, but it was still a tasty, low-cal treat.
That's fucking genius.
I know. Oh, I did one, I think it was a granola. Like, it was only tiny because of the calorie value, but it was nice. But I was obsessed with everything had to be protein, low fat, blah, blah, blah. And, but I started making my own stuff and my own, like, low calorie cakes and things like that, and brownies, just because I physically couldn't afford it. It's like, if you go on Muscle Food and you buy 20 protein bars, or you get 12, don't you? For like 30 quid, 25 quid.
Yeah,
and
they're like £2.50 a bar, and that's if you're buying, like, not wholesale, but you're buying a box of 12 of them.
Yeah. So even if you bought wholesalers now, I know that the protein bars they stock at the wholesalers I use, they're still, I think, $17.99 for 12. So they're obviously buying them in and selling them on at $2. That's why they do charge so high, because they're expensive to buy as a wholesale stockist. Whereas I've been asked a lot, and I've been in discussion with cafes and gyms and things to do mine wholesale, but I don't know how to work the balance to still doing my online orders and being able to provide that much wholesale, because obviously they're going to want it in large quantities. They can't just go on the website and buy 5 of each flavour and then they sell it on at whatever price they want to charge.
They need giant slabs.
They need like hundreds of either single ones, which is another thing as well. We'd need the packing machine because we sell slabs to save on packing time. Otherwise, we still would be spending them 2 full days putting each individual one into a packet, because
it's mad.
It's time consuming, so time consuming.
I don't think anyone will really realise that when you say like handmade,
it is.
You really mean, it's not like, oh, it's a recipe that I put in this machine that does that, then I take it out. I have to put it in a tray though. Like your blending powders.
It's even hand stirred as well. Maybe that's why I've stayed so strong.
The secret to training.
just stir fudge all day, like literally.
One jacked arm.
240 balls of it. But yeah, it is.
It's amazing though.
It's hard work, but there's a massive method behind it as well. So that's another reason we have to keep it handmade.
Because we've almost got to make it by hand for it to work.
We have tried it in a mixer, but it don't work.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It just goes clumpy. But it is because of what we use.
It's wild though. It genuinely, I think because my life and background has been fairly industrial, like worked in a quarry, my mum's a nutritionist, like big scale pharmaceutical stuff, and like I'd go to work with her and you'd just be in the factory, like there's just machines everywhere. Worked in a cheese factory, like packing cheese and stuff. Bad job, don't do that job. Makes you really appreciate that, like, what you do is super stressful. What I do, I make stressful by how I do it. But it's not bad compared to, like, a proper job.
Yeah.
It's like doing your own stuff. But I just assumed, like, to have giant mixers, you might not have, like, a proper packing machine, but you might have, like, a hand... Ooh, sorry about that. You might have, like, a hand crank thing, or there'll be, like... some machines or a slicing machine.
It's literally packs of hundreds and hundreds of what they call packets, and then you literally there's a method to it to make it quicker. Put it in, and fold it over, stick your label on, put it in the box.
Wow.
Thousands of like. I feel a bit sorry for my staff when we used to do most like everything singles. It was tedious, very tedious job. We were literally fudge packers. That was all we did. The baking wasn't the hard part, it's the packing.
Actually getting it packed.
Yeah.
That's genuinely, it is amazing because you are, by your own admission and like how this all came about was just, you were in a kitchen and you wanted something nicer to eat.
Yeah.
And now I'm
a protein queen.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, I used to massively regret letting myself get so big, obviously with my health and stuff like that, but I'm glad I was that fat girl because I'd never be this.
Yeah.
I'd never ever in my wildest dreams of thinking doing that. Like when they say when you're a kid, what do you want to be when you're older? I still can't answer that question. I didn't dream of being a baker, but I love it. And it's mine, it's my baby, it's completely my own. I'm my own boss, which has its massive positives, but it also has big negatives as well, with just being so busy. But it is crazy to think what's happened, because I always thought I'd just plod along, I'd still be the protein queen, but it's an 8-hour job a week. It's a side job, I can do it on the weekends if I had a full-time job. So I thought that would be it forever. I'd never ever in my wildest dreams imagined that people would be eating my stuff all over the UK, never mind just selling it in the quantities that I do with 4 people, and I know how big it can get, and it's terrifying. Yeah,
because it's terrifying. So obviously would be successful internationally. Like it's just like if this stuff was in the States.
Oh, people go nuts for it.
Yeah, sell it in California. A load of hippies who like working out. It's good for you, good macros, not super expensive. Like that's it. You need a factory in the States.
Yeah, I have had people contact me from Germany and Spain, saying, do I want to branch off, and they will run
like local
protein queen shops for me.
That's so
and I was
cool.
like, do you know what? When we're trademarked in like 4 weeks, we could look at that. But until we're trademarked and the protein fudge is the protein queen,
and it's like protected and
like it's in the process of being done, and it's always been patents, is it called, pending.
Yeah.
So, but now it's being officially done, and it needs to be. It's one of those things that comes with business, and it's crazy to think that I own something. Like they own Coca-Cola, they own Jeff Cakes.
Yeah.
I own protein fudge.
That's so cool though.
It's madness.
So you said like looking like when you were big, you're like, why did you do this to yourself? Why did you do that to yourself? What do you think led you to get big, or was it just because you weren't around the gym?
To be honest, I don't even know. I just like food. Like, I don't think anything like emotional from my past links to getting so fat. I will admit, when I met my ex-partner when I was 20, I was 14 stone 3. I remember I was still a big girl, still, because me at 13 stone now, I look back at when I was 13 stone before I started lifting, and I look massive because I didn't have any muscle. But I was 14 stone 3, met my ex-partner, I was with for 4 years, lived with him, blah blah blah. We didn't end on bad terms or anything like that. But in a year of being with him, I went up to my heaviest weight in a year. So
wow.
It's like 4 stone gain. And then I maintained, I went from 16.9 to 18, hovered around till I was 24. Then I finally had that bit of a scare and decided to do something about it. But getting fat, I was just, like I said, I was 14 stone 3, so I was big anyway.
Yeah.
And I think even in school, as a young teenager, like 13, 14-year-old, I was still on the 10 stone mark. So I was always the bigger girl in school.
Yeah.
Always the bigger kid. But in school it was weird because even though I let myself get that fat in school, I was ridiculously sporty. Like anything to do with sports I'd get involved in. I used to be a really good runner as well.
Yeah, which is hilarious seeing you
now.
seeing how clumsy you are.
Yeah, you're running in the wrong direction.
Oh, she's fell over again. No, it happens.
Oh, it's fine. She tripped over her own feet. I know, I walk into stuff like daily. I fall over daily. I used to have a really bad problem when I first lost my weight and I was at my lightest of like 11 stone 6. I would just generally fall over in the street. But my knees were just weak, and I don't know why. It might be because I relieved so much pressure off them from taking the weight. But I'd literally just be wandering along, and it was over my left knee, and it'd go, and I'd land on it like that. It wouldn't really hurt or anything. I'd just feel like a bit of a dick. But it used to happen like weekly, and my knees would just go. They're better now, even though if you hear me walk upstairs, you'd be like, that's not healthy, because they just crack on every step. But yeah, I think with the eating though, I just got fat. I can't say I was traumatised by something. I used to sit in my room and that was my comfort. I did used to secret eat. Like, I had a bad thing when I was a kid. If my mum said get a bag of crisps out the crisp bag, I'd always take 2 and put one in and one and 2. So I'd always have 2.
That's smart.
Because one bag of crisps isn't enough.
It's still in one bag.
Yeah, so I was like, I've got one bag, Mum. And she'd click on. And I used to, I don't know, I used to just eat because that's what, it was just...
So what you wanted to do.
Yeah, you just cravings hit, and I wouldn't give a shit about my weight. I wouldn't think about the consequences. I just eat, and then before I knew it, I was a big girl. Then before I knew it, within a year, I was twice as big, and I was like, oh shit. And as well, I will admit, like that mirror up there is still from, I've had that since I was like 20, 21, and I lived in my flat. I didn't have any full length mirrors.
No.
So I think I didn't even notice the weight going on because I literally look at myself every day from here. And then I remember seeing a photo and I was like, holy shit, that's me. And I was in size 20 clothing and I was like, what have you done? Like, you thought you was fat when you were 14 stone. What do you think of yourself now? And but it did take me that scare at the doctors, and it was 6 months of doing crash diets and Atkins and shite. And then finally, obviously Slimming World is bitched about and it has its flaws, but it got me on the right path. It taught me that I should be filling loads of my plate with vegetables and eating colour and portion control. I know it's free food and things like that, but they'd always say to you, only eat what's necessary. Just because Muller Lights are free, don't go and eat 10 of them. So I know it's slandered and people, I don't believe it's a bad thing. It's a good starting point for people that don't know the difference.
Yeah, I think if you read it, it sounds really sort of stupid. Like, if you just read it, like, these foods are free, blah blah. But if someone actually, like you said, go, look, it's free, so you don't need to feel guilty about it. It's not free, so you should eat 10 of them. Yeah.
So it was controlling as well the sins, and I think it made you realise as well what was actually in the food you was eating.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, that's 15 sins, which you worked out at 20 calories per sin. And you was like, wow, that's 34 sins, and you'd be like, I'd eat 2 of them without think about it. So it teaches you good habits, even though everybody goes off on one about it, but I don't have like a vendetta about it. It helped me.
Yeah.
And I still got, and the weigh in every week as well. Now I'm with my coach, I find that I'm a lot better because I've got someone to answer to and be accountable.
Yeah.
I'm not just weighing myself and going, oh well, you know.
I had a takeaway,
Yeah.
so it's just salt.
You've got a goal every week. I will say about Slimming World and stuff, I used to get weighed at 5 o'clock on a Thursday, so I'd be a bit obsessive over how much I drank that day, just so I was drinking the same as the last Thursday, and what clothing I wore, because I weren't getting weighed naked in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of an unhealthy habit with it, but I'd say that's about it, to be honest. But then when I started the gym, I met my PT Holly, which is when I first ever went to one of the classes. When I lost my weight, I didn't go to the gym at first. I used to be obsessed with The Biggest Loser, that American weight loss show. I used to get up because there's so many adverts in it, and I'd skip on the adverts, more like a plod because I was so big. And then that gave me confidence. I dropped 2 stone, so then I joined the gym, and I'd just walk on the treadmill 3 times a week for half an hour. And then I tried my first ever run, and it was 30 seconds at speed 7, so it wasn't really a run, it was just a fast walk. I was so proud of myself. And this girl called Holly was PT there. I was like, why don't you try one of the classes? So I went to one of them, and it was box size. And Luke, who ran it, was like a sergeant major. I threw up halfway through and left and didn't return for 8 weeks. But I started doing Holly's classes, which were a bit less brutal.
Yeah, a bit friendlier.
Yeah, and I got really into them, and then that's where that obsession of doing 3 or 4 classes in the evening, a class in the morning, then doing my own cardio in between, it did get unhealthy very quick. And my weight just fell off me. Literally, that's why I lost that amount of weight in a year. If I wasn't doing as much cardio, I probably would have been a lot slower. But that's what got me in the gym. And then I did meet my ex-partner, who was a bodybuilder. So I was like, and I used to just train outside of the classes. I used to train deadlifts, and I'd do a few back accessories, and I'd train squats and legs, and that's all I knew. So I weren't training delts, I weren't training chest, I weren't training abs, anything like that. But I was still doing the crazy amount of classes. And then when I met him, he taught me
how to actually train.
These are delts, make sure you train them instead of just doing what I thought was right. So I learnt a lot from him, and then I did try the bodybuilding, but it did set off literally after a year and a half doing it. I did go into an eating disorder stage. I was abusing laxatives because I was terrified of the scales. I knew I had to be a certain weight if I wanted to compete in a certain category. I started binging because I was embarrassed that I wanted to eat pizza and have a cheat meal, and it was so bad to have a cheat meal. I shouldn't be having cheat meals. But I'm not the sort of person that can eat the same thing every day for something that didn't make me happy. I just enjoyed the gym and enjoyed being healthy at first, and then it became an obsession. And then I did end up with an eating disorder. I was binging every Friday and making myself sick, which became more regular. But I used to hide it from everybody, and it was my little brother who clipped onto what I was doing it, and I opened up to my sister about it, and they was like, this isn't right. And I used to have this, I didn't go and buy laxatives from the supermarket, but I went into a herbalist who'd give me a huge bag of herbs, like a kilo of them. I used to have 1 scoop a night. It tasted like absolute shit, but it was a natural laxative, like them skinny teas that you see all over.
Yeah, like the detox tea.
It's the same thing, but they was like, it's good for your gut, it's good for your digestion, and it was laxatives that I was having every night before bed. But then I convinced myself I needed it, so I woke up feeling de-bloated and not watery and stuff. So that got bad. And then when I did open up and I told people what I was doing, they was like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it took me a long time to get out of. Like, I couldn't, that sensation of being too full, I'd instantly want to run to the toilet and puke my guts up.
Yeah.
So I had to stop myself, and then stop myself from eating as well, because I knew how easy it was to go, well, if I'm too full, I can just go get rid of it, it's fine. And that was my thought process with it, so it became so unhealthy. But then I'd be like, no, just eat so you're satisfied, so you don't feel the need that you've done that. You've ate something, don't feel guilty about it, and move on, instead of thinking, oh shit, now I've got to go punish myself, I've got to go and do this cardio, I've got to go and make myself sick, I've got to. So for, like, it's a known fact, I'll say it on my Instagram, like, I've suffered. It's not like I've done it the 100% correct way. I am doing it completely right now. My eating is so much better, my relationship with food is so much better, but I don't, even though I'm still competing in a weight category, I don't have that pressure of feeling like I have to look perfect all the time. Or because I do have loose skin, because I used to be such a big girl, I used to want abs so badly, and I'd be like, no, you're going to wake up and you're going to be bloated in the morning, so you've got to do this. And you know, you'll never hit your goal weight of like, I think I wanted to be like 11 stone 5, which isn't light, but it was light for me
Yeah.
compared to what I'd been. And that part of my life just mentally fucked me up, and that's the reason I stopped bodybuilding as well, because it messed with my mental health.
Yeah, you sort of have to, or not have to be obsessive, but
You have to be disciplined
Yeah.
and really want it. And I think because I didn't really want it, I was kind of doing it for the wrong reasons. I was just like, oh, well, you know, you can do this and fuck up and get rid of it, and then it'll be all fine. Like,
Yeah.
I think if it was like strong woman, I won't allow myself to fuck up on something because I know that I want it and I enjoy it as well. So that's the main thing, like, you enjoy it. Obviously, after I stopped bodybuilding and started strong woman, I went the complete opposite way and banged up to 90 kilo.
yeah,
And I just went a bit crazy
super
on food.
quickly. Just
And
I'm
then
a strong woman.
yeah.
I can eat.
Fuck pizza, deadlifts, great. But then I had to get that back down, get it under control. But I'm just glad this time, like, I'm in such a good position. I'm sat 2 weeks out from comp in weight category. I don't have to do a nasty water cut, because I have literally, the year I won England's, I was led on my ex-boyfriend's floor, passed out, because I'd had that many hot baths. I'd starved myself. I'd done a water load as well. I was so dehydrated.
Yeah.
and
Now I remember you were
I was
not
fucked,
well.
and I still weighed in like 400 grams. So go and sweat it off, and you're like, I just want carbs. Just want a drink of water.
Yeah, I do. I remember seeing you like have a really like hard cut, and like before the weigh-in, like we'd be chatting, or you'd see you walking around. You're like, Steph doesn't look good. You'd be like, oh, there's no, and like coaching other athletes and stuff. You're like, oh, Steph looks like she's fucked herself. Like it is part of weight classes. But then you'd refeed and be like, oh, that's Steph's back.
I'm alive now. Just put carbs in me and I'll be fine.
No, it's really impressive, and it's why I wanted to chat to you, because there's so many, especially in the world of fitness, whether it's sport or you just go to the gym, so many people are suffering and might not even realise what they're doing isn't good.
It's all learning, isn't it? Like, we still learn every day.
Yeah.
I still walk in at the gym and learn stuff new. Being with Dale as a coach, I thought I was like, wow, you were clueless and you were doing all right. And now you know all this information. Like, he's very on it with his WhatsApp. He'll send you all these technique videos, give you all the advice in your will, and you're like, holy shit, I've been doing that wrong for 5 years.
Yep.
And you do learn stuff. So when you're a complete newbie, like I said, when I was in Pendle Leisure Centre, deadlifting me 60 kilo, thinking I was bloody world's strongest woman, I thought I knew everything. And it takes a lot to be like, I don't know shit, but I'm willing to learn. And it's exciting to learn. Like, I love finding out new stuff, and then I go home and research it just to make sure it's all 100% and correct. And it's just all still learning. Like, you learn till the day you die, don't you?
Yeah.
Always.
And people, it's like coaching people. I'd rather have someone who's never lifted before, total newbie.
It must have been hard for you to go, Tom, when you've trained Tom, he's got such a big name anyway.
Yeah.
So the nerves that you must have felt to go, do you know what? I've got to build this guy bigger than that. And you did. And like, how did you handle that and that stress?
Like, World's Week this year was bad.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really sleep. I was, because they were 8 hours behind us. So it's like going to bed at 4 a.m.
I remember you saying, you like put on your Snapchat story, and I was like, he needs to go to bed.
Yeah, there was no going to bed. It was just constant. Because then, like, I've still got all my clients over here. I've got my normal clients, so I'm going to bed at like 4 a.m, get 4 or 5 hours sleep, go train, 1, 2 o'clock our time, back on it. You know, they'll be getting up, so they need to know what to do for the next day. Obviously, coaching Tom the year before, where he came second, was fairly stressful. But also having Luke there this year, who's put so much into his prep, I was like, I've got two people to deal with, but it's just good. Like, it's so much fun, and helping people's just such an amazing feeling that. So it's only a week. I'll be tired for a week. Like, they're going to be tired. They're competing at Worlds. So I was like, they're probably more stressed than I am, just less of the time.
Thing is, though, that shows you care.
Yeah,
like, it's nice
though.
to have a coach that cares. Some of these coaches out there just don't give a shit. Age program, go and get on with it.
Yeah, it really annoys me.
Yeah.
Like, I like doing like podcasts and stuff this week. I've realised that, like, chatting to someone for an hour or a couple of hours, I start to then be like, I've not checked my phone. What if someone's like checked in? Because I get notified when people complete workouts and stuff. So I'm like, it's been 2 hours, or like driving somewhere, and I'm like, I'll pull over for a coffee, and it means I can check my phone. But the week after Tom won Worlds, one of my Masters ladies, she'd like been stuck at 65 kilo overhead, like mentally couldn't lift more, and then she hit 70 for a double, and I was like, these both feel pretty similar. Like, Tom's won Worlds, you fucking smashed this mad mental barrier. Like, just help it. If someone wants to get better, it's so nice to help someone.
Yeah, it is.
And it's just really cool to be able to do that. And it sounds like that's what the Protein Queen is for you as well.
It's a nice feeling to think I can make people's lives easier.
Yeah.
By giving them a job. Especially when I know how much, like, the staff I've got, how much they struggle. Like, I don't come from... I know what it's like to be skint, and so do they. And it's just nice to know, I don't have to worry about my phone bill this month. I've got a job, I've got, hours set in stone every week, every month. I've got something, instead of just doing it here, there and everywhere. It's like my friend Jessie who works for me. I've watched her raise 3 kids that are my godchildren, and we've known each other since we were 15. And she just works her arse off. She's just completed uni. She's got a 2-1. As well as juggling 3 jobs and 3 kids on her own, and it's
That's
just
amazing.
Like, I get to help you. I get to make your life a little bit easier. It's just so nice. She's one of them friends that, if you ever won the lottery, you'd give them a big sum of money.
Just to sort them out.
Yeah, and she's my friend on this planet that I would do that for.
That's so cool, and you get to work with her as well.
Yeah,
like, not only do you get to employ her and help,
it makes work a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Like, especially when it doesn't even feel like work most days. We're just in having a chat.
Yeah.
Obviously my mum's there. My mum is very close to Jess as well. So it's just a nice environment. And then Suzanne as well. And but when we do get trademarked, I will be taking on new staff. I mean, I get emails still every week asking for jobs.
Yeah.
And I do have 2 more staff lined up to take on as soon as this all goes through.
So you can just expand and get more orders out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely thought, like, when you said you're only doing a Sunday, it's like, I was like, oh, people are just going to get pissed off or whatever. And then I tried to buy something, and it was like the worst hour of my life, where I'm just like, I just want to buy stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I do. To be honest, I've had a lot of nasty emails, which at the first, when I was in a really bad place mentally in January, because even though we blew up last May, in January we went ×5 that. So last year was stressful, and then this year, because last year it was just me on 2 days completely on my own. Then my mum would come in for a day and a half, and that was our working week, and then I'd do all the behind the scenes stuff on the weekend, and then we'd bake again. So now we've got more hands, but it is just a case because handmade, we do need more hands to hire. But that's when contracts come in place. My accountant has to sort a lot of stuff out, stuff I'm not used to. So it's all a massive learning curve for me, because now I look at stuff, I'll pick up something off the shelf at Asda and I'll be like, I wonder how this is packaged and who made it and blah blah blah, and that goes through my head now because I know what it takes to make things like that. And it fascinates me. Like, my YouTube is full of how it's made. Because I'm like, wow, I know how to make this. How'd you make that? Oh, I wonder, like false nails. I was googling how people machine make false nails. The ones that you get packets.
Oh, like
and I was like,
stick on things.
I'm like, they mass produce them in the thousands. I wonder how they make that. And it fascinates me to think that everything you do in life, everything you touch, your handbag,
someone's
made it.
Oh, it's really cool. I can't remember which it was. It was like M&M's or Skittles or something, and I just got into watching videos of that being made.
I'm gonna watch that later.
It's
how do they put the peanut in the chocolate and then they coat shell on and then they spray it a funny colour?
It's actually really hard. It turns out there's a YouTube channel called Bon Appetit, and they had some legal stuff with not paying people of colour the same as white people. So the company's very shit, but the people who are actually working there were this amazing group of chefs, and one of them like remade stuff but like a gourmet version, and I think they made like peanut M&Ms, and they're like, this is so hard, and that's like making singles, like batch producing them. They're like, this is ridiculous how hard this is.
Wow.
Because like, how do you get a peanut encased in chocolate?
It's crazy.
And then tumble it to... It's a really good episode.
I couldn't get my head around dipping, so obviously it's a technique that people use with chocolate. And I've taught myself all this because I do want to bring... There's new products coming out. I don't want to say too much about it because I'm still playing around with them. But dipping chocolate, and I was like, how does it not stick to the baking paper? And how do they not... And they get it everywhere, and it's all over your gloves, and it's dripping down your arm, and it's splatting on the floor. And I was in meltdown over this dripping, and then I got the hang of it. I watched YouTube, I taught myself, and I was like, that's how simple it is to do.
You just dip it in. Just dip it.
Yeah,
and then it's fine. Put a stick in it.
But
dip it.
I overcomplicated so much stuff by not doing my research, just thinking that looks easy when it's really, really not.
No, but it's really easy if you do the technique.
Yeah.
But yeah, I walk through like the cheese section of a supermarket,
and you know how it's made, so you're looking at them going.
And I know like where I work, like we know where they ship stuff out to, we know what products it was, and like I'll pick a packet up and I'll be like, oh, Tommy packaged that. Like no, like because it's one factory for all of like massive companies.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can just tell off the code from the machine that packaged it, like what shift was on, what day it was, what time it was, and you see like it's slightly askew, and you're like, they needed to just move that.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit! Like everything's made, like everything everyone uses
is made by someone, whether it's machine assisted or not.
Yeah.
That's another thing as well about expanding with the batch codes, the dates, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason we bake everything fresh. But as soon as we start mass producing it, if we make it a few weeks before, the batch codes, the dates and everything will, like it says on the product, please eat within 6 weeks. My products have an 8 weeks date on, so we bake it, then we post it to you, which takes up maybe a week or so of its time. So then you've got 6 weeks to eat it. So put it in the fridge if you want, leave it out of the fridge. Obviously with the hot weather, put it in the fridge. But as soon as we start mass producing it, we will have to have a machine that prints on every single one. It was like that packing machine. I was just in awe of it. I was like, oh, it does this and this, and then it does this, and then it goes through, and then it's just sealed. And I was like, 300 a minute, but it's squashing them. So
it's just one really long, thin.
They didn't look that bad, to be honest, but then they were just bulging out the packets. So I was like, yeah, we need a pair, because I was going. You can buy them just not off the shelf, but you can just go, I want that one.
Yeah.
And you can, obviously it fits the dimensions that I asked for, and then it was like, yeah, it's squashing them, and they're like, you need a custom built one, which is a lot more cost coming into it. So that's another reason the packing machine's delayed. But it is just crazy how a machine just does that.
Yeah.
And it knows in the back code, and there's someone behind it typing them in, going, well, this is what the information that needs to be on the package. Obviously, when it comes to releasing my own whey protein, doing the labels for them, I just think I'm like, I'm not smart enough for this. But when I get into it, it's not that bad, but it's a very daunting task to think about doing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, and like, do you want this, this, and this in it? And a year ago, I'd be like, what the
I don't know what words
and
you're
now
saying.
I'm like, yeah, put this in, and then the percentage of this, and I want it to taste like this, so we need to put this in it, and it's learning as well. It's crazy. I didn't think I'd know all this information.
Yeah.
I'm not a science whiz with it. Like, they're very, very helpful, and they can recommend things to you, but it's crazy what I've learned to what goes into stuff like that. Like when you buy a bag of protein from wherever you're buying it from, you just it's protein, put it in a cup, there you go, there's 25 grams of protein. But now I look at it and I'm like, wow, they've done this and this and this and formulated this way, and it's
So this is plain powder, they've got stabilizers in it,
Yeah.
mixing agent, they've got all this stuff.
You just think about food completely different. But that kind of saying that is a bit of a negative, because now I bake all day, every day, and all my life is food. I am the protein queen, that is my life. I don't enjoy cooking for myself.
No.
If my mate's coming round or something, I'll love it. I'll make you whatever you want, put loads of effort in, 3-course dinner if you want it. I enjoy baking, but when it comes to getting home from work, I'm just like, ugh, I have to cook for myself. I've just been like cooking for 8 hours, like what?
Yeah, what's another hour?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like my Actifryer fryer is a lifesaver, because you just bang stuff in and then you
is
pull
it
it
one
out
of the
and
air
stuff.
fryer things? Are they good?
I love it, love it. Bex told me about one she has, and it's on special, I think, at like 170. I got mine for my birthday last year. I got mine for my 30th,
nice.
and it's only a single one. But I want to invest in one, because I can't remember last time I've used my oven.
Really?
Yeah, and
Ooh.
they're so cheap to run, and literally they cook like the most perfect. I get a bag of new potatoes. I buy new because it's low carbs. Chop them up into chips, bang them in for 40 minutes, put a bit of salt, spray of oil on it, and 40 minutes later, give them a shake halfway. Perfect chips.
Yeah.
Don't need to go to takeaway and have them deep fried. And Actifryers, they're the future.
Yeah.
They're
I might
absolute future.
have a look at one of
You do
those.
French toast and all sorts in it.
What?
Never, I can't. I very rarely use my hobs now, and I very rarely use my oven. Like, yeah, because I haven't used my oven probably since I got it. Like, it's ridiculous. You can do nachos and everything in it.
Just air fry everything.
Yeah, air fry absolutely everything. Take it out, give it a swirl, quick wash, done. Back in.
Ooh, that does sound good.
That's why I want a double one. So you got one for meat, one for your carbs and your veggies and stuff. So
Just get loads of them, just
Yeah.
like an army.
Army of Actifryers.
So what would you have said to yourself starting out the protein queen?
What do you want to know?
I'm not talking to you, Siri.
That's annoying. Yeah, well, you know, when the protein queen was just, when you'd started realising it was a business thing, what would you say to yourself then?
I probably only started realising it was a business when it got busy last year. And if I had to give myself one word of advice, it'd be calm the fuck down. Like, I let it, because I'm a sensitive person. Like, doing my emails, I've cried at so many emails.
Really?
Because I take it to heart. I'm like, oh my god, they're having a go at me and they didn't enjoy being on my website, and I'm so sorry about that. But it's the end of the day, I've taught myself, it's fucking business.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a one person. I'm not Argos. I don't have 100 people behind emails and computers all day dealing with the stuff. It's business. So, and to separate business from work, like, I didn't used to have my iPad last year. Everything was done on my phone. Like, even opening my website, my website was open constantly last year, but stocking it and things like that, and putting
All
new
on
products
your phone.
all on my phone. That's the reason I got that phone, because it's a big phone. So I was like, couldn't really afford an iPad, but then it was eventually to the point, right, we need some form to separate it as well. So my WhatsApp now is still full. I always have about 40, 50 unread messages, because I'm just that busy. I do try my best to get back, but then I've got emails on top of that. But it's to the point where my social life's a bit dead.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh shit, my friend messaged me 3 days ago, and I'm sure you've experienced, like, if you've messaged me, she's like, why is she taking 2 days to get back to me?
Generally it's like, today coming up here, I was like, I could send her a message, but I don't want to be driving round for like 2 days while Steph gets back to everyone.
Tell you my address on Sunday. But I'd just say to myself, calm down. It's business. What happens within the business is not the end of the world. You don't have to sob at work, because that wasn't, as much as I enjoyed baking, it sucked the enjoyment out of it, because I was getting so stressed. But I've never ever wanted to let anyone down. So if I had to get more than we was capable of in the working time that I said
You'd
we'd
just
get
work
it,
more.
I would be working till, one time last year I worked till 5:30 in the morning, from 9 in the morning, and
Wow.
I was dead. And then I got up the next day at 9 o'clock and went back to work, and it was disgusting. And even me, as well as my mum in January, my little brother came on board before we got Jess and Suzanne. They was working till midnight with me some nights, literally watching me just sob and try not to get tears on the fudge. But and they were just
special salted caramel version that's just tears.
But that was the point where I was like, close the freaking website. You can't do this to yourself. Like, I remember messaging Dale a video of my deadlifts, and I was struggling with 140, and that's unusual for me, and I felt like shit, and I cried in the set. So he's like, where's your other ones? And I said, I can't send you the videos, because I was just crying my eyes out because I was that tired.
Oh wow.
And he literally over the course of a few hours sent me paragraphs just to say he's been there, he's a busy man, he runs his own gym, he's he's worked in himself into the ground before, and his life's, he's as well as running a business that's stressful, you've got personal problems and whatever else you've got going on. So he massively helped me. He just sent me a few paragraphs, and I was like, it's nice to have someone to relate to and think and tell me it's going to get better, and tell me the right steps to take so I don't make myself ill, because I was really ill. I'm not going to lie, about January when the weight just fell off me, because I had no appetite, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I forgot to even drink water at points. So January I was a mess, and I was just, so we shut the website. I was like, it's not the end of the world, you want it to grow and grow, but you've got to look after yourself. So just stop getting stressed about it. You're only one person, so you can only do what you can, and stop being so damn sensitive as well. If a customer messages me going, I'm so frustrated, I couldn't get what I wanted on the website,
try again.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, I can only do so much. Instead of thinking, fuck, I've let that person down, I'm gonna lose a customer, they hate me, because I used to get so worked up about people having a go at me, and they're having a go because they're stressed in the heat of the moment. It's like that Tim that got shared on my story. He was a proper, he was horrible. But I was just like, and I took it really hard, and I cried at his email, and I was like, what are you fucking crying for? You didn't get some protein fudge? It's not the worst thing in the world.
It's so I was chatting to Amy Iziski about this psychologist. She's saying that, we're just chatting about, obviously with the football that's just gone on, people have this thing where, because they're typing on a screen, they feel totally disconnected to the person they're talking to. So what they're saying to you is just voicing their frustration that they haven't emotionally processed. So then they're just giving you like raw emotion, rather than like what you want to email, or what you'd email if you'd thought about it. It'd be like, I'm really sorry, I tried to get hold of this, is there a better way to do it? But they've reacted like a toddler rather than like a adult.
And I do understand that, like, everybody, we're only human. Like, if something bad happens and anger hits, you do kind of just vent it, and then you look back like an hour later and you're like, why did I act that way? It wasn't actually that bad. But in the heat of the moment, Tim must have been like, and then afterwards he'd be like, well, I didn't get any protein fudge, and there was no need to speak to that lady like that, but never mind, you've done it now. So I have had to block 2 customers because they was that abusive towards me.
Really?
I'm a stupid bitch, I'm a shit businesswoman, blah blah blah, absolutely pathetic. One of them as well was only as simple as he forgot to put a discount code in. So he requested that I send him £1.60, because that would have been his 10% off. Quite a small order. I was like, I'm really sorry, if you forgot, company policy, we can't do anything about it.
Because get fucked.
Just give me a free cookie then. Again, sorry, company policy, can't do it, with I used to get loads of emails till I started posting about it more, about forgetting to put the code in. Can you possibly do the changes for me? No, if I forgot to put a code in Argos and I miss out on the discount, that's my fault. I know it's the website. It's
frustrating.
It's frustrating
because
it
is just you. But they think they can attack a person and get what they want. Whereas Argos, they'll just go, I forgot to put a code in. No one's going to get back to me anyway, so there's no point kicking off. I
think that's another thing as well about being the protein queen. Like, when people see me, I'm PQ, I'm the protein queen. I am Steph. I don't mind being called PQ at all. At all. I don't mind it. But when people speak to me on Instagram, they're speaking to the protein queen, and they know they're speaking to one individual. So I think that's why I was a little sensitive about the emails I was getting, because, as I've explained a million times, it's me. You get personal response from me. So I was like, you are having a go at me. You are telling me I'm a shit businesswoman. You are telling, and it is as pathetic sometimes as the £1.60. Forgetting to use a code, and I'm like, I've had an email before over 80p, And I was like, no problems, I'll refund you, absolutely no problems. But the way she went around it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, and the time
like,
it takes you to write an email.
Yeah, of course you could, if that's our mistake, we'll apologise. There you go. But just how rude people can be sometimes.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. I'm nice to people. I'm polite to them. So please be polite back. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I was chatting to someone, I can't remember who, I've chatted to quite a few people in the last week. But I used to be like really angry when I was younger. And like I look back and I was like, wow, I was an arsehole. Like just to people, but I was fundamentally just unhappy. So then was just acted like a dick.
Yeah.
But once you get to actually know yourself and understand what you're about
and what's going on in your head and why you feel that way as well,
then you just want to be a dick much less.
Yeah. And I think I used to be quite an angry person, especially in school. I used to be a fucking nightmare. Like I got kicked out. I was awful. But I used to get really badly bullied, and then I got told to go and beat the biggest one up. I'm not going to say who, but it was just like, go into school, beat the biggest one up, and then leave me alone. And I didn't go looking for it, but I did get jumped, and I ended up having a fight and winning, if you will. And all of a sudden, everyone was, no, don't mess with Steph. And I think that got in my head a bit, and I became this like, I'm not getting bullied anymore. Fuck the lot of you. How dare you think you could bully me? What did I actually do wrong to you either? Yeah. And then I couldn't, because I had been in that position. I used to get myself in a lot of fights because I used to stick up for people who was getting bullied. So I didn't generally go and bully someone, but if they started with an innocent person that couldn't particularly defend himself,
then you'd step
I got a bit hot-headed and I'd be like, fucking leave me alone, what have they done to you? But I suppose that's me, even though I would say I was angry, I was probably a bit sensitive. It was like, why are you giving that person shit for no reason whatsoever? That's what you did to me. And then now you all want to be my friend because I had a fight and I won.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you look back and you think, why was I such a little ball of rage? Like, I used to knock around with lads as well because I couldn't do with the drama of girls in school, bitchiness. He said, she said, and I was just one of lads. And I still got, to be honest, majority of my friends now are male because that's just what I've gone through life. A lot of my best friends are male. But I've no time for drama, and I think in school, there was no need to be getting so angry. But another reason I was so angry all the time is because I had anxiety. I didn't understand it. I was having panic attacks. I was getting so frustrated with it. It got to the point where I wouldn't even leave the house. My mum told me when I had my first ever panic attack, she led me in bed and she said, nothing bad can ever happen when you're with me. Instantly from that sentence, I clung to her. Yeah. She had to let my dad drag me into school by my rucksack on most days because I'd kick and scream and I wouldn't let her leave my side. And then the teachers would lock me in the classroom and then my dad would run off and I'd be in school. And then I'd wait till 3 o'clock, literally like this, in isolation. And she'd meet me outside because I wouldn't walk home and I wouldn't get on the bus on my own and I wouldn't be without her. But then I was just so angry because I was just so frustrated that I didn't feel like a normal kid. I used to sit and watch people in the car and be like, all my friends on the bus, and I'd be like, why can't I do that? Why anymore? I used to be fine. Like I had my first panic attack in year 9, and I'd be like, why do they feel okay and I don't? I feel like this. I feel like I'm gonna stop breathing. I feel like my head's gonna explode. Why are they normal and I'm not? But then again, my counsellor at the time, because I did do a lot of counselling when I was younger because of the series of panic attacks I was having, said if you went to the Trafford Centre and you can see physical disability but you can't see mental, but if every 1 in 3 people in the Trafford Centre were wearing a red hat, you would know how many people struggle with their mental health, which is doubled these days as well. Over half the population struggle with their mental health. That made me feel like it's not just me. I'm not just alone in this, and that calmed me right down. People feel the way I do, and I understood it more. I did my research on it, like we talked about earlier. I did all my neuroscience. I got myself out of it. I trained my brain to think more positive and not be anxious. Like when I was 24, I wouldn't even drive to Tesco when I lived with my parents, which was less than a mile away. Wow. I just couldn't get in the car and physically do it. And if my mum were going out somewhere, I'd get in the car with her and I'd be fine, and it wouldn't happen. But I'd always told myself, nothing bad's going to happen. I'm with my mum. or my brother, or my dad, or someone I called a safety net at the time.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, if I looked back now and thought, I can't believe I let myself get that way.
Yeah,
like,
but you
mentally.
got yourself out of that.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is, you know, it shows what you can do if you decide to do it.
Yeah, but I think that's where the anger come from, because now it's talked about more. But when we were at school, I was the weird kid who had anxiety. Steph's had a nervous breakdown, and I felt so alone. And I think that's where the frustration and anger came from as well, because I was just like, I'm not normal. This isn't normal. Why can your body feel this way? Oh.
Hey, doggy. Any slightly weird noises? Pandora, who was Steph's very cute, very small dog.
He's having a stroke.
So you said you've like retrained your brain, and we spoke a little bit about it before we started. But what do you mean? Because you know, there's over half the population are dealing with mental health issues. So what?
If you want,
what did you do?
At the end of this, they're still saved, even though I've got new phone after new phone since I went through this. I've got saved tabs on my Safari of the first articles I read to help me get out of that. It was to the point where, I'm not going to lie, I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't have plans of doing anything about it. It was just terrifying to think, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to wake up tomorrow. It's horrible. And I had to put a stop to it. So I did go and read Ruby Wax's book, like we spoke about earlier. She actually went to university to understand what went on in her brain to make her feel as depressed. She suffered massive depression, as she did, where mine was more anxiety, but I was depressed because of the anxiety, because of feeling that way. But to the point where I suffered with derealisation, and I used to think stuff wasn't real. Like, I used to touch my ex-partner and be like, you're not real. I couldn't, like, it used to happen a lot in supermarkets for some reason. I used to hold on at the shelves and I'd be like, I'm fucking nuts, me. But I went to counselling, and I had a trainee counsellor, which I was unaware of at the time, and she told me that she didn't know what derealisation were. So I actually rang Samaritans, the suicide hotline, because I was in a panic in my car. I was like, this is happening right now. Somebody help me. And am I going crazy? And she's like, no, that's completely normal. Your mind's just under immense stress, so it's slowed everything down, and that's its way of calming. So that kind of went away quite quickly once I found out the reasons behind it. But then I went on to do neuroscience brain training. So I'll give you the articles if you want to.
Yeah, I'll put them in the link in the thingy.
A massive one was, it's just a thought. Thoughts aren't real. That was massive for me. What you're thinking right now is not actually real. You could tell yourself the sky's purple, and your brain would be like, the sky's purple. Tell yourself that enough, your brain will believe it. You've trained yourself to walk, you've trained yourself to eat, you've trained yourself to talk, you've learned everything that you've learned to this present day, so you can teach your brain new things to not feel that way. So the way I dealt with it is, these thoughts were probably 70% of my day at the time, and it was very rare that I sat there and thought, wow, I've not thought about that in a while. Literally not even an hour had passed, and I'd be like, fuck, that thought's back, and it'd work me up. But then I'd be like, that's nice. Okay, want me having for tea? Whatever's nice. I'm going to train this later. Yeah, and then I've got to do this and do it. And before you know it, once you've started distracting yourself, the thought goes away. So every time them thoughts entered my head, which was constantly at first, I just had to train myself, or I still to this day, every day before I go to bed, I lie in bed and play Sudoku. Because it takes your brain completely to a different place, and you just concentrate completely on what you're doing there and then. So I had so many distraction games, so many distraction thought processes. I used to write things down on a piece of paper, because your brain, when something's stuck in your head, it'll constantly pop back into your head without you telling it to, subconsciously, because you've trained your brain to remember that thought. So I used to write stuff down on a piece of paper. I used to take it outside. Be safe if you do this. I have set my sink on fire before. I set it on fire, and you'd watch it burn, and because your eyes have seen that, your brain's seen that, then problems have gone. Symbolising they've gone. And it is a weird technique, but it does work. I know I sound batshit crazy, but
at least you know you do.
Yeah,
and you own it.
It does sound, but this is how I dealt with my mental health, and I would not be sat here today talking to Dan if I didn't sort myself out. I'd be living at home with my parents still, an anxious little mess, not leaving the house.
Yeah.
So it is just you've just got to train your brain to. I know it's hard. It took me 4 months, I think, before I noticed the difference in Jesus Christ, that's not gone through my head for hours. I've actually got on. I left the house today without even realising. I went to the shop. I just walked to the shop because I wanted a bottle of milk and didn't think, work myself up before I went. It was madness, and I was just like, and then it became easier and easier. And I used to have a huge problem with driving, so I used to tell myself, I can pull over at a service station. They have first aiders. If I feel shit, I'll just say, can I speak to the first aider, please? I'm just panicking a bit. They'll understand because mental health is so widely talked about now. I'll calm down. It's 10 minutes of my life that's a bit uncomfortable, and I'll carry on with my day. And then because I told myself I had that action plan, if it ever happened, I didn't panic while driving because I knew that I could deal with it if I needed to.
Yeah, so you sort of didn't let the panic in.
Because it's I think a reason people suffer so bad with anxiety is because it's such a disgusting feeling.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel like that, so you become terrified of it. You don't. It's not nice to feel like you're going to drop dead because you can't breathe. Like my first ever panic attack, I pulled up at my sister's house. It instantly started. I'd never heard of him before. I didn't know your body could do that. I was rolling down her sloped driveway, crying my eyes out, telling her I was going to die because I couldn't breathe. She was laughing her head off at me because she knew exactly what it was. And then about 10 minutes passed, she led me on to sofa. She was like, you've just had a panic attack. This is what it does. This is, you hyperventilated, you took in too much oxygen, which causes the feeling of you can't breathe. You're obviously that stressed, your heart beats faster. It is a sensation that you feel like you're going to die. But, you know, nothing, it can never, ever, ever, a massive thing that I've took with me my entire life. A counsellor told me when I was 14-year-old when I started suffering. Because I've had patches, like I've had 2 years of being bad, maybe 3 or 4 years of being okay, and then another year or so of being bad, then okay. And I've suffered 3 times badly with it until the last time when I was 26, so 4 years ago. Like as the 27th of November this year, or shall we say the 27th of November last year, at 5 a.m. in the morning, I haven't had a panic attack for 5 years.
Yeah.
I haven't. They've tried and they've come at me, and I'm like, nah, piss off. I know how to deal with you now, not letting it happen. Whereas it used to be a horrendous thing for me.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, and I'd be like, meh. Like, I will admit I get up sometimes at 4 in the morning, I go for a wee. The thought crosses my mind because I know how bad that was. I used to be terrified of that 5 a.m. one that I had that time. And the thought crosses my mind and I just go, fuck off.
Yeah.
No, you don't control me anymore. It's my brain, I can tell it what I want. No. Why am I even worrying about it? And I tell myself, why am I going to allow myself to panic? Because nothing is going to be achieved over having a panic attack. You're going to feel shit for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then your problem's still going to be there. So why are you going to panic over it?
Whereas you could spend those 10 minutes dealing with the problem.
Yeah.
And not have the panic attack and not feel shit.
Yeah.
And then not have the problem as well.
If panic ever hits as well, there's a good technique. Like, I know it sounds weird, but you can actually breathe through one nostril.
Yeah.
And then you inhale through that, and then you breathe it out the other, and then you inhale through that. And because you are concentrating so hard on your breathing and slowing it right down, it stops the panic attack in its tracks.
Because you can't hyperventilate. That's really smart.
Yeah, and breathing through your nose as well, your body will automatically breathe through your mouth if you hyperventilate, but when you breathe through your nose, you can't actually hyperventilate.
Yeah.
So if you are terrified of having a panic attack and you do have them where you hyperventilate, try your best to breathe through your nose and control your breathing. And just the finger thing, you don't even have to, you can just breathe in deep breaths through your nose and out. But because you're concentrating on doing something else, it calms you down by giving you an activity to concentrate on.
That's, really interesting. And it feels like it's sort of a good message to wrap it up on as well, because hopefully people have listened this far, and helping people deal with anxiety and panic attacks is quite a good way of ending stuff.
Yeah.
As another way of ending it though, what's coming up for the Protein Queen? What's sort of the big headline news?
Like I said, we are bringing our own whey protein out, which is going to be very interesting flavours, let's say. We are actually closing for a week, which I'll make Instagram aware when we are going to close.
Yeah.
Because my new label's coming out. You probably noticed on Instagram my logo's changed a bit, but I haven't officially put a post up saying this is our new logo. I'm just changing it here and there, and then everything's going to be changed at once when the website gets changed. And then we're going to bring out stocks of more flavours, and we're going to stock the more popular, instead of putting an even amount on.
Yeah.
And then not selling out of some, but selling out within, literally Biscoff sells out within 8 minutes, maybe even less. So we're going to get the more popular flavours, more stock of them, We're getting a truck in 2 weeks, which I can't wait for. It's going to make my wholesale stock easier to get around, because I'm doing 3 or 4 trips in my Mazda where I'll just have to do 1 or 2 in the truck.
Yeah.
Obviously the postage as well, I'll be able to fit every single parcel in that truck. We are as well looking into opening a gym and a cafe. That is being looked at into the next few weeks. We are going to view a unit tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be, we've asked on Instagram of locations, so we want it to be near the M6, the M62.
Sort of in the triangle.
You can get in anyway, so it's not too far for everybody to go to. It is going to be a strongman gym, but we are going to have it open to just normal general public. So we're going to try and get a lot in that. We're going to have a cafe there as well. I am releasing my protein ball recipe. I will put up a date of when I'm going to do that and when I have time to film the tutorial, because it's going to be, I'm not just going to put it online as a, there you go, there it is.
I'm going to teach people how to make it. I'm going
to make it in my own kitchen, film myself doing it, and then, because with the protein balls, I'm sure people have tried a million recipes. It's all about how you do it.
Right.
Not what you put in to make them set, because I used to struggle when I first make them. They just go flat and not ball shaped by the end of it. And then
I remember some of the early.
Yeah, they were like little pancakes, weren't
they? They were like thick.
Yeah.
But flat on top and bottom. I totally forgot.
It's hard to get the bowl shape right, but I sussed it. I remember the day I sussed it as well. It was fabulous. What else is coming that's new? New products. We're changing the labels. We're changing the logo. We are bringing new flavours of cookies out. I've took a lot of suggestions and we'll come up with the most popular ones, which will hopefully be made into permanent editions. We are getting trademarked. That's massive, absolutely massive. And then we can hire everybody. We can hire new staff.
Everyone gets a job.
On a contract base as well. So they are literally tied in a contract with us that they're not going to go blab about what we do at the Protein Queen. And then as soon as it's trademarked as well, we can actually start putting, not legally, you don't legally have to list your ingredients, just the allergens. Obviously when it's trademarked, I don't mind, the packaging will change, more information will be on the packaging. And also we're going to look into a different packaging. I do like the simple effect, but if we are going to expand the way we want to and start mass producing it, a lot more comes into the packaging. So if you're not a small handmade business that goes out on a weekly basis and it's stuff going on our shelf, then it has to be changed in packaging. Also the sell by dates as well. So if we start selling to vending machines and things like that, to stop gyms.
Say when it's
so we have to work on things like that, batch codes. But and then we'll be baking with the protein that we're bringing out, and then we're bringing out it into buy, so you can bake at home with it or you can drink it after the gym. We're bringing out a juice protein because that's something not everybody likes, cream based things. It's madness. Madness.
It sounds.
I've gone from that bowl lady on Instagram to this.
And you've absolutely smashed it. Thank you so much for agreeing to come and have a chat. It was super interesting. I need to do the thing you do at the end of every podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dan Hipkiss podcast. And take it easy, guys.
Thank you, bye.